Hello and welcome back to the Nasty Metal Production channel here at YouTube, and welcome to, of course, another album of the week. This, of course, is episode number 89. Since yesterday marked the 40th anniversary from Motörhead's classic album, Ace of Spades, I am, of course, celebrating and spotlighting this album this week. Where do I start? I mean, just a year prior, in 1979, they of course had given us at least Overkill and Bomber, two great classic records, and of course, again, not to overlook their official self-titled album, or their debut album in 1977. I know in many ways also Ace of Spades, in many ways, is kind of seen as their fifth record, given that On Parole, which was supposed to have been their debut album, didn't get released until 1979, and in many ways, I guess in Lemmy's eyes, Ace of Spades is supposed, again, as their fourth record. But since On Parole is pretty much looked as a full-length record and gets marked as one, in many ways, it does somewhat make Ace of Spades their fifth record. So, still, I mean, just following these three, I mean, of course, I should definitely mention that the reason On Parole had at least got to see the light of day in 1979 was to cash in on the growing success. And again, within the underground, again, in 1979. I mean, again, Overkill and Bomber were seen as classic records at that point. And Motörhead was getting a lot of attention, so that's why the original label United Artists decided to then release On Parole in 1979. Still though, enough of that. Let's just focus. I mean, after again releasing those two classic records, they follow up and again on November 8th of 1980, just months and months after, of course, Bomber, with of course Ace of Spades. And that's where we finally we get to talk about it. I mean, also, I should definitely point out that besides the music, I am going to talk about some personal, just personal history with me when it comes to this album. I definitely have at least a personal bond with some of this album. Again, it is one of my favorite Motörhead albums to begin with. And again, I got some personal stories that definitely connect me in many ways with me and this album. And one of the main reasons why I'm definitely happy to spotlight this album finally as part of the Nasty Metal Productions channel here at YouTube. So let's definitely focus on Ace of Spades. I mean, again, this album, we are given 12 songs of classic prime Motörhead. And it all clocks in, of course, at 36 minutes and 43 seconds. But, oh my god. Let's have you do, again, just a track listing rundown, because all of these are just fucking classic titles at this point. I mean, of course, this album, of course, being released on the same year as classic records already, as like Back in Black, and Strong Arm of the Law, and Wheels of Steel, and Heaven and Hell, and so on. My god, and then the debut Iron Maiden album. So we're in British Steel. Good lord, this album in many ways can be also because in the same way as I'll probably look at Back in Black. It's pretty much almost like a greatest hits album, because just look at the fucking song titles on this record. I mean, already, the opening track being Ace of Spades, which is pretty much at this point is pretty much their Hell's Bells, or their Back in Black, or again their Breaking the Law, or Living After Midnight. It's their hugest song, and it gets played pretty much to death to this day. It's probably, again, growing up, when I first got into, of course, Motörhead, I didn't, as a kid in 2000, I wasn't much of I didn't know who the fuck Motörhead were until I ended up watching wrestling. And of course, wrestler Triple H then in 2001 going out to the track The Game, which wasn't penned by Motörhead. It was, I think it was again WWF's when they were called the WWF at their time. They had their music composer was Jim Johnston. It was kind of penned by him, but Motörhead took their take on it because of Triple H was a big fan of Motörhead and he wanted their song. And I mean, he fucking talked about it at Lemmy's funeral. Triple H. He had talked about this and so on. He just wanted at least a song or a theme song that sounded like Motörhead, and it then came up, well, you can have, well, actually, why can't you have Motörhead as your theme song? And then it's when apparently it hit the noggin that maybe he should contact Motörhead and see if about providing him a theme song that will be recorded by them, and that's where The Game came in. That's how I found out about Motörhead, and then of course then hearing it in one of the Tony Hawk games, and it was Ace of Spades. So Ace of Spades has been, at least many ways, one of the most played, one of the most, I wouldn't say overplayed, but it's definitely in many ways, it's pretty much the biggest song Motörhead has at this point, besides Overkill. It's a big freaking track from Motörhead, and of course the partnership between Motörhead and the World Wrestling Federation / now Entertainment was definitely apparent again for over the decades. Playing at one of the WrestleManias, I think it was WrestleMania 17, I believe it was, and them playing there, and then of course, was it WrestleMania 17 or 16? I think it was 17. It was WrestleMania 17 that Motörhead played, and of course, and so on, and Triple H has done so many with them, and so there's definitely plenty of that. It's again, this also, you could say, as a part of my personal bond almost with me, how I, in many ways, also how I got into Motörhead in the first place. But yeah, the partnership was pretty much apparent with the World Wrestling Federation / Entertainment until Lemmy's death, and still the music still gets played even over there. So, but Ace of Spades is just one of the biggest fucking songs from Motörhead. So that's so already an iconic song and open up an album. But let's keep going down the listing. Let's keep going down the track listing. Good lord, we then got Love Me Like a Reptile, which is also one of the few songs I actually know how to play on guitar, actually. Fucking Love Me Like a Reptile, Shoot You in the Back, Live to Win, Fast and Loose, which again has always been a personal favorite of mine. Again, probably one of the more obscure tracks, but over time it then get played. It was on an episode of the fucking Walking Dead, which even though I probably couldn't give a rat's ass about anymore. Still though, again, a personal favorite of mine. We got, of course, We Are the Road Crew, fucking classic. And of course, then Fire, Jailbait, Dance, which Dance can be considered a filler track, but even the filler material on this album is still fucking grade A compared to other bands' filler material. Probably even better than most bands' biggest songs. It's a fucking catchy track. I love the groove of Dance. It's just, again, I wish if I were to if I was able to at least go to a fucking dance parlor, or even again, if I was to ever were to go dancing, I probably would just pick fucking Dance from Motörhead. That or the song Dance from UFO. Any of those two I would pick. But yeah, good track. Then of course Bite the Bullet, which then of course transitioned to, of course, The Chase is Better Than the Catch, and ending with The Hammer. Oh my god, The Hammer is just again, of course, At War, the U.S. thrash metal band, had covered that track on their first album. That's actually how I first somewhat heard that track, but I think at least as far as studio version, because I was mostly familiar with the live version of Hammer. Actually, not off the live, No Sleep Till Hammersmith, but off the videotape that was where they were playing live in Canada, that ended up being used as a live disc for the bonus disc of the Iron Fist Deluxe Edition, which, oh, good lord, that's another classic record that I've also spotlighted on this channel. So though, there's just so many classic songs on here. And to try and comment and go into detail of every one of these, I think would be almost redundant, because at this point, everyone has heard Ace of Spades. You don't have to hear me talk about every single song and what they sound like, and try and compare them to one another. It'd be redundant. So I'm not going to waste my time with that. Instead, I'm going to bring up some personal story. The thing is, one of the reasons why this is such a personal story is because this was actually the first album I bought on record. The first album, and I was at a Best Buy, because it's because what I've got still for the longest time, for over a decade now, has been the Earmark or Back to Back or Back to Black reissue, which is again the 60th vinyl anniversary. I don't know why the fuck they called that. Still, it was the Earmark Sanctuary vinyl reissue. I went to a Best Buy and I looked one of the first times I think I went into a Best Buy, and then I noticed, of course, in Reno, the vinyl rack. This was again Best Buy before everyone else, before fucking Target, before Walmart. They were the first ones to have a vinyl rack, and that's where, for the earliest times, I would buy at least the vinyl reissues was from Best Buy. And looking into the vinyl rack, one of the records they have is, of course, Ace of Spades, and I didn't have Ace of Spades at the time. So I thought, you know what, fuck it, I'm getting myself a copy of Ace of Spades. So I walked out of there, and that was the first time I ever heard Ace of Spades from start to finish was on record. And good lord, I've spent so many years listening to this album. I spent so many fucking years listening to this. And at this point, again, being 180 gram, I still have yet to wear off the fucking grooves off this album. Good lord. Again, that's why I think, as when it comes to my favorite album of 1980, if I were to pick my absolute favorite, that would be my number one pick for 1980. I mean, I could go with, of course, maybe Back in Black, because I've listened to that album a shit ton of times. But the thing is, over time, it's become probably not my most favorite AC/DC record, but I still played that album a lot. But of course, then I could also pick either Wheels of Steel and Stronger Than the Law, because I played those albums a fuck ton of times too. And then of course, I could even pick Heaven and Hell. I could also maybe pick the first Iron Maiden album, or maybe at times On Through the Night from Def Leppard. But if I really have to pick, or British Steel, I can't overlook that one, but that's also not my favorite Judas Priest record. But even though I played that album a lot as well, some of those albums, again, that I've just mentioned, I played a shit ton of times over the years. I've listened to them a lot of times, but if I really had to pick my number one favorite album for at least 1980, it actually would be Ace of Spades. It would be Ace of Spades from Motörhead. Good God. Because when it comes to pulling out Motörhead albums, the way I view Ace of Spades, I don't view it the same way as I view, for example, British Steel and Back in Black. Because even though those albums are considered, again, it's Ace of Spades is in that list of possibly maybe the most, again, maybe the most I wouldn't say overrated, but they're definitely the most heightened album. Every fucking list you might see, at least that would, rank every bit of those three bands' best albums. Again, are ranking the best AC/DC records, or the ranking the best Judas Priest records, or ranking the best Motörhead records. You know that for AC/DC, Back in Black is going to be on top. You know, for example, that for Judas Priest's list, British Steel is going to be out top. And the same goes for Motörhead. You know, Ace of Spades is going to at least going to be on top. But the thing is, I don't pull out British Steel. That's not my first album I'm going to go for when I'm listening, when I'm in the mood for Judas Priest. Same goes for AC/DC. I'm not going to pull out Back in Black. That's not going to be my first album choice, even though since having that record on, or at least that album on record, I have come to listen a bit more of Back in Black. I have come to listen to it a bit more. Even as a kid, I did listen to that record a lot. But the thing is, I still don't have the urge to want to rank that as my absolute favorite AC/DC record. Because again, for the Brian Johnson era, I am going to go for at least Flick of the Switch. I am going to at least go for Fly on the Wall. I am, of course, in some way, shape, or form, might also go for The Razor's Edge. But I'm not, but of course, AC/DC in general, I am going to also go for the Bon Scott era stuff. As far as picking my absolute, at least what will be my absolute favorite. But I'm not going to pick Back in Black. So, but yet, when it comes to Motörhead, I'm actually going to pick Ace of Spades as my favorite. Because the way how I feel towards this album is different how I feel towards the two aforementioned albums. Because, Lord, every bit of this, to me, the thing is, there's just, I don't get tired of every one of these 12 songs. I do not get tired. Hell, I don't even get tired of listening to Ace of Spades, even if it is one of the most played songs. In many ways, I feel Ace of Spades is probably more comparable to Highway to Hell from AC/DC than, let's say, for example, Back in Black. Because, again, Highway to Hell is one of my favorite AC/DC records, and I'm not ashamed to say that. And Ace of Spades, in some ways, is kind of the same vicinity as a track like Highway to Hell, because in many ways, it does kind of summon up Highway to Hell definitely summoned up AC/DC's career, and the same thing for Ace of Spades. It summoned up Motörhead's career. Again, Live to Win, and that's it. Born to Lose, Live to Win, everything. That was kind of, in many ways, it was Lemmy's motto, it was the band's motto. They basically, it was what they lived by. So, but Ace of Spades basically was also a story about Motörhead. It was pretty much a biographical story. So it's many ways it did. And again, since of course the late 2000s is when I've really got into Motörhead. Again, 2008 to be exact. I just have been a fan since then, and I pretty much was a fan even to the day Lemmy died, and today at this point. Every of these members on this album are dead. Even the fucking producer Vic Mile is dead. Again, it's just crazy that when listening to this album, when I first heard it, all three of these guys were still alive. But now listening to it, all three of these guys are now dead. So it's completely surprising, and it's just haunting at the same time. But still, I just do not get tired of Ace of Spades. I do not get tired of it, and I love almost every fucking Motörhead record to begin with. Just how I love almost every fucking AC/DC record. I know some people will see, over time, you got people that will pick, the Rolling Stones and the Beatles. The people that also have, the Sex Pistols and the Ramones. Me, I've got Motörhead and AC/DC. So that's how it is. So Ace of Spades as a classic record. This time again, it hit its 40th anniversary. On Sunday. And since it hit its 40th anniversary, I definitely want to know what were your thoughts when you first heard this album, especially for those who grew up with, of course, Ace of Spades. What were your thoughts when this album first came out, and do you share those same thoughts when you first heard it in 1980? But for those who haven't heard this album, well, you know what? Why the fuck are you even listening to this video to begin with? You should be checking out Ace of Spades. You should be checking out any other fucking Motörhead record to begin with. So there you go. I hope all enjoyed. This is Every Thresh. I'm out, and I'll see y'all later. Take care, everyone.